morning, good afternoon, good evening. Many of you out there saw the video of Professor Madhuku being attacked by thugs, or rather a video of him showing the results of him having been attacked by thugs. A few days later, he followed that video with yet another. In this one here, he is condemning the Zanu PF thugs and the Zanu PF regime itself.
His president meeting. That's the message they are setting as far as things are concerned. They'll beat up everyone else. So it's how dangerous they are. Don't think that any people who are in Zanu PF at the top level are immune to this thing. I've been watching, unfortunately, you are now prompting me to say, I've been watching and following Themba Mliswa's rantings against the vice president on Twitter. If they can allow the vice president to be dealt with that way, left, right, and center. We've been reading that. I mean, who is allowing that to happen? And so it's not just Madhuku there who is beaten up. I have no doubt that if anyone else were to stand directly in their way, they will do the same thing. So it's a worry, very much of a worry. I think that is my answer to you. If I can be beaten up, anyone can be beaten up, but that doesn't mean that I am a top person in the country. But I'm just an ordinary citizen who is leading a political party. And what I was doing exactly my job, to chair a meeting of an organ of my party, which is discussing how to advance the cause of that party. That is what was happening on
Does it even mean that Chiwengas of this country are also at risk? Should they also come their way within against the constitutional amendments? That's so critical thing.
Yes, that's what I've said that. I've said that. It's the only person who is immune is the president. That is as long as he's occupying that position. But if just simply leaves it, he's not immune. With the kind of culture you are saying, anyone can end up being beaten up. So yes, I mean, they're not just me saying it, but they also know it themselves that they run the risk of the machinery that is put in place is a very dangerous one that this party has been up with. You also remember last time when President Mnangagwa's vice president was demoted, he left the country in ways which are public. He ran away. He was like demoted on day one. The second day we were hearing that I don't know how he crossed the border. He must have gone through our province in Manicaland and so on. Then he preferred us to other places. That's how he was able to leave the country. Ended up in Mozambique, and then we heard that he was now in South Africa. We all know this. Why was he running away? He was running away from a system that they have put in place, which is dangerous. It can consume its own people. And this is what we want to change. We want to change such a system. It's a very dangerous one, if I may put it that way. You have interjected. But you had asked the other questions that you had.
We don't have to listen to the end of it. But to be quite honest, he is right. But he's also missed the point that he thinks that if you are the president, you're somehow immune. That's wrong. Robert Gabriel Mugabe was president, and on the 15th of November 2017, he was rudely awakened with a gun pointing at his temple. The military coup demonstrated that not even the president is immune to Zanu PF thuggery. We have a political system here where the thugs are forever fighting among themselves. And if anyone in the opposition is considered a threat they get also the same treatment. So the only honest truth he's saying here is that no one in Zimbabwe is safe. Benjamin, welcome to the program.
Good day to you and good day to our viewers. I must agree with you to say, the political environment in Zimbabwe is very toxic. And it is only by getting rid of that toxicity can we have meaningful change in the country. I mean, I look at the past 25 years, now 26, where we had now an opposition, a main opposition that had come through, the ranks and in MDC, and they had promised to change this political system, to change the toxicity in our political environment. And then when you look down these past 26 years, you will realize nothing has actually been cleaned. There's nothing that has been rid of. Instead, they have adapted or coexisted with the toxicity. In short, they have accepted that this is what is normal in a Zimbabwean political environment. Hence, we are at a situation where even how flawed an election process is, we have learned to accept it as normal. Where outsiders, for example, observers that come through to observe our elections, will red flag almost everything we are doing and call it illegal, and it does not even measure up to international standards. We accept that as our standard. We accept that as our new normal. And that's a very, very dangerous position where we can smile about that and say it freely without being embarrassed that this is our position. It really scares and disappoints me at the same time to say, we can say Zanu PF is doing this, and we can say the only person that is untouchable is the one that is right at the top. We all can be touched. It's not right. That is not democracy. I don't think this is what anybody fought for.
Yeah. What I find annoying about people like Madhuku is that they always seem to find their voice to speak about the evil system when they are not in a position of power or authority. And when they are, they say nothing. People must remember that people like Madhuku have participated in these flawed elections, knowing fully well that the process is flawed, knowing fully well that by participating they were only giving legitimacy to the system. And they've continued to participate. Madhuku was one of the leaders who, after the 2018 elections, were co-opted into Pollard. This is the political party, the grouping that grouped opposition political leaders who had participated in the 2018 elections and were willing to publicly endorse those election processes as free, fair, and credible. He did. And he was a member of Pollard. And he participated in 2023 elections, again knowing fully well that Zanu PF was rigging those elections, and that participating would give Zanu PF legitimacy. Now he is the one who is saying this system is terrible, it will consume everybody, because he has found himself on the receiving end of the system. Not knowing that at one point, he not only worked with the system, but he helped to give it legitimacy by participating in flawed elections. I think this is one of the things that I personally find so disappointing about our Zimbabwean leaders and ordinary Zimbabweans.
I think the worst part of this whole thing is that Zimbabweans themselves have been very, very slow to understand what is happening here. I mean, let's go back to the period where we had that, presidential runoff in 2008, where a lot of people were beaten, a lot of people were tortured, some even died. And then we had the GNU, where Zanu PF and MDC came together to form a unity government. Now, the number one task for that unity government was to implement reforms to get rid of the toxicity that Madhuku is speaking about today. When MDC went into that agreement, they knew very well that Zanu PF were brutes and they were thugs and they would kill. They knew nothing had changed. But when they became government, they felt they were protected. They became part and parcel of a system. They became part and parcel of that environment. We are untouchable. The great disappointment is that not even one reform was implemented. They learned to coexist together. They became one, laughed, ate, chat, everything together. In fact, when SADC came knocking at the door to remind the MDC, to remind Changirai, you need to implement reforms, Changirai ran away and went and told Mugabe that SADC was worrying him. And millions of Zimbabwe right now sing so much praise for Changirai as if he did anything. And the question is, show me what he did. Because right now, we are even worse than what we were before. So the answer is, he did absolutely nothing. Yes, it may not sit well with millions there because they loved the guy. But the truth is, he did not do what he was meant to do. The MDC was a failure. The Triple C is a failure. Madhuku is a failure because they did not do what they were meant to do. And their number one purpose was to cleanse the environment. You cannot harvest good fish from a sewage pond. Participating in rigged elections will never bring forth good leaders. In the absence of democracy, you can never have good leaders. But hence they have continued to participate in rigged elections. And you brought up a very good point. They were willing to take up seats and to take up polled positions of an illegal election, a violation to the Constitution. And these are not my words. These are observer mission statements and reports that brought this up. All of them. Zimbabweans have been very, very slow to learn that whoever just stands up and tells us what we want to hear and acts as if they are on our behalf, we have clapped hands. Today, Madhuku has become a liberation hero. Everybody supports him. Yesterday, it was Geza because Geza told you what you wanted to hear. The day before that day was Chamisa standing in front lying. And the cycle keeps going on and on and on. We're in serious trouble with it.
Must be emphasized here that it is not only the opposition who have this knack for condemning the system when they are no longer in a position of power or authority. Zanu PF thugs themselves have become masters of that. Here is VP Chiwenga speaking on the values of the liberation struggle.
Zimbabwe's Vice President Constantino Chiwenga has sent a strong message to some individuals in that country who are calling for the extension of President Emmerson Mnangagwa's tenure until after 2028. Some in the country have endorsed Mnangagwa to continue to lead Zimbabwe. Zanu PF Member of Parliament and former Deputy Minister of Information and Energy Mutodi is leading the motion to amend the Constitution and remove presidential term limits. Now, this move to amend the Constitution is likely to face huge resistance from within Zanu PF and opposition circles.
We fought for a total Zimbabwe, fought for all its wealth, the minerals, the flora, the fauna, its cultures, its heritage, its identities, its beliefs. Indeed, we fought for its rise as a soaring great nation. The wartime call urged us not to be greedy and selfish, not to be corrupt and egocentric, or to be narrow-minded and tribalistic. We all swore to a shared future in which everyone had a place on the table, a place in the sun for a culture of equal opportunity where every Zimbabwean served in equal measure. Zveubvanzu kudya kwemhumi takazviramba. When our president says, leaving no one and no place behind, he is reminding us of this wartime covenant, a covenant we must all live by across generations, starting and including our very own.
This is laughable, of course, because Constantine Chiwenga is just another Zanu PF thug. Earlier on, we talked about how Madhuku was saying, you're only safe here if you're president. He was the man who led the 2017 military coup against then President Mugabe. He is talking of liberation war values. And yet, in 2008, it was him and Mnangagwa who spearheaded the infamous 2008 Operation Mavotera Papi, where Zanu PF thugs were used to punish ordinary people because they dared to reject the Zanu PF in the March 2008 vote. Where was the liberation war values then? In this video, which I would like to play last, he is saying what he really believes. His commitment to the system, the culture of violence, the culture that has made Zimbabwe a failed state, the culture that is what has destroyed Zimbabwe.
Kana Zanu ichitonga, Zanu PF ichitonga kusvikira madhonga anenge amera nyanga. Kana mutemo wacho futi tinochinja wakaramba achiita nharo. Toti ndo watinoda kusvikira amera.
This is the root cause of our problem. We have the misfortune of being ruled by thugs who yesterday were our liberators and now are today's men oppressors. This is the tragedy of Zimbabwe. And when we tried to elect opposition leaders and gave them the task of implementing changes to end this cycle, they themselves were easily corrupted and joined Zanu PF in the looting and oppression of the people. That is the tragedy of Zimbabwe. It has been made worse by the fact that we, the people, have been very slow in reading the writing on the wall. MDC-CCC leaders have failed to implement even one token reform in 26 years, including 5 years in the GNU. Why is it that the people of Zimbabwe failed to remove them as opposition and elected leaders who would have implemented the reforms? This is why Zimbabwe is a failed state. We don't seem to understand what's going on. Our leaders are corrupt, incompetent, and utterly useless. And we, the people, fail to see it. And thus have become part of the problem ourselves. That is the tragedy of Zimbabwe. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. And if you are free to join us, we will invite you to join us during the week, 6 o'clock UK time, 8 o'clock Zimbabwean time. And over the weekends, same times, and this time we'll be inviting you to join us and make your own views heard. If Zimbabwe is going to change, we have got to change. Change has got to start with us. We have to be clear what is wrong and what to do about it. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.